With the release of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, fans of the adrenaline-fueled franchise had every reason to expect another thrilling ride. After all, this eighth installment marked a significant milestone, not just in terms of story progression, but as a potential send-off for Tom Cruise's iconic Ethan Hunt. The film arrived with sky-high expectations, boasting an enormous production budget, a star-studded cast, and the promise of pushing the boundaries of cinematic action. However, as the dust settled after its May 2025 premiere, a different narrative began to emerge. One of disappointment, unmet expectations, and a sense that the franchise's ambitious finale had missed the mark. At the heart of the letdown lies the film's considerable financial underperformance. Despite its staggering estimated budget of $400 million, The Final Reckoning struggled to capture the audience's imagination at the global box office. By early June, the movie had grossed just over $350 million worldwide, a figure that, while impressive in isolation, fell drastically short of the nearly $800 million needed for the film to break even after marketing and distribution costs. In a franchise that has historically delivered blockbuster numbers, this commercial stumble was not just a disappointment, but a signal that something fundamental had failed to connect with both loyal fans and the broader movie-going public. One of the most frequently cited reasons for this lackluster performance was the film's critical reception. Early reviews painted a picture of a movie at odds with the very elements that had defined its predecessors. While the series has always flirted with high stakes and global threats, critics noted that The Final Reckoning leaned too heavily into its own seriousness. The first half of the film, in particular, was widely described as slow, ponderous, and lacking in the kinetic energy that made earlier entries so exhilarating. The plot, centered around Ethan Hunt and his team's desperate bid to stop a rogue artificial intelligence known as the Entity from unleashing global chaos, seemed ripe for suspense and spectacle. Yet, the execution was marked by a deliberate pacing that left audiences waiting too long for the signature action set pieces the franchise is known for. This sense of drag was exacerbated by the film's lengthy runtime. At 170 minutes, The Final Reckoning clocked in as the longest entry in the franchise's history. For some viewers, the extended duration felt justified. A final curtain call for Ethan Hunt deserved ample time to tie up loose ends and deliver emotional payoffs. For others, however, the length became a liability, resulting in what many described as a bloated and tiring viewing experience. The film's first act, in particular, was criticized for its heavy exposition and somber tone, making the eventual payoff in the high-octane second half feel less rewarding and more overdue. Even the film's much-anticipated action sequences, a hallmark of the Mission Impossible series, could not fully redeem these missteps. While the climactic biplane stunt drew praise for its technical execution, and for once again showcasing Tom Cruise's commitment to performing his own death-defying feats, critics argued that these moments were too few and far between. The stakes, though monumental on paper, felt oddly muted in practice. Much of the tension that had electrified earlier installments was replaced by a sense of narrative inevitability, as if the film was dutifully checking off boxes on a franchise to-do list rather than delivering genuine surprises. Another key factor in the film's underwhelming impact was its reliance on familiar tropes and formulaic storytelling. The threat of a rogue artificial intelligence, while timely and relevant, has been explored in countless recent films, making The Final Reckoning feel less like a trailblazer and more like a follower. The movie's attempts to inject deeper philosophical questions about technology and humanity into the franchise's traditionally straightforward action narrative were admirable, but often came across as heavy-handed or out of place. In trying to elevate the stakes, the film risked alienating viewers seeking the escapist thrills that had defined Mission Impossible's enduring appeal. Compounding these creative missteps was the film's release schedule, which placed it squarely in the middle of one of the most competitive box office periods in recent memory. Disney's live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch dominated theaters, drawing in massive family audiences and overshadowing The Final Reckoning's debut. Other blockbuster releases further fragmented the attention of moviegoers, making it difficult for even an established franchise to secure the audience share needed for a hit. In this crowded marketplace, the film's slow word of mouth and mixed reviews only made matters worse, with many would-be viewers opting for alternatives that promised more immediate entertainment. For longtime fans, perhaps the most disappointing aspect of The Final Reckoning was the sense that the series had lost touch with what made it special. The Mission Impossible franchise has always balanced spectacle with a knowing wink, a blend of high-wire suspense, self-aware humor, and the relentless charisma of its leading man. In aiming for gravitas and finality, this eighth installment sometimes forgot to have fun. The weight of concluding an era seemed to press down on the film, resulting in a tone that was more solemn than celebratory. The challenges faced by Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning underscore a broader truth about modern blockbuster filmmaking. As budgets soar and expectations rise, even the most beloved franchises are not immune to fatigue, miscalculation, or the shifting tides of audience taste. The film's struggles may serve as a cautionary tale that bigger is not always better, and that the magic of a great action movie lies not only in its scale, but in its ability to surprise, delight, and resonate on a human level. In the end, The Final Reckoning stands as a testament to the risks of aiming high and missing the mark. It is a film that sought to deliver a grand farewell, but found itself weighed down by its own ambition, unable to match the heights of its predecessors. For fans and filmmakers alike, the hope remains that future entries, if any, will remember the lessons of this letdown and recapture the spirit that made Mission Impossible a cinematic phenomenon for nearly 3 decades.